Indonesia's fertility has been known to the world since ancient times. Its agricultural products in the form of spices attracted international traders to come to the archipelago. From clove, resin, black pepper, nutmeg, coffee, cinnamon, tea, and others. Soil fertility is now being eroded by the use of excessive chemical fertilizers. Its fertility is lost, microorganisms are extinct, the soil is hard, pests thrive because of the loss of the ecosystem. Farming is becoming unpromising and farmers are living in poverty. Now eco-farming is born. Superactive organic fertilizer is the outcome of many years of research that works on microbial technology as a bioactivator to restore soil fertility. It is small in size, which is only 30 grams, but rich in microorganism that works to enrich all necessities of plant to grow and restore the soil fertility, to nurture the earth back to its function as a better place for living. Eco-farming is processed with natural drying under the sun to keep the microorganism live for longer and be activated before use with water as starter. Eco-farming fertilizer is intentionally made to reduce an excessive use of inorganic fertilizer to only 25% for making healthy and environmental friendly agricultural production, so that agriculture never stops moving forward to feed the country and the world. So with us now Mr. Jamal Al-Afghani. He is a lecturer at the Ministry of Agriculture in the field of organic farming, as well as an organic farming assessor for the Professional Agricultural Certification Institute at the Ministry of Agriculture. Today we will be talking about eco-farming fertilizer, which has an extraordinary sales. Even many partners or public do not really understand what eco-farming is. Actually, what is eco-farming fertilizer in general, Mr. Jamaluddin? Dear listeners and viewers, regarding to the eco-farming, by chance, we have conducted several laboratory tests related to its ingredients at our laboratory at the Ministry of Agriculture. So the first things needs to be observed is its sea organic content, which is one of the vital ingredients in improving soil quality. A good soil is soil that contains higher sea organic. So this condition makes our soil known to be the category of not fertile soil, because the organic sea organic is less than 2% or even 1%. Here it is, eco-farming having a sea organic content is much larger. Second, NPK. So N stands for nitrogen, P is prosperous, phosphorus, and K potassium, all in small quantities. But keep in mind that in organic products there is no NPK above 5. So if there is organic fertilizer with N above 5, it is actually questionable. It may perhaps use urea. Indeed, at the Ministry of Agriculture of Indonesia, we allow N to reach a 6, but organic certification body will usually find out why and what's going on. How come it got above 5? They generally don't recommend such a product as an organic. So organic products rarely have N above that number. Second, what is extraordinary from our test result is that this small amount of organic fertilizer contains a large number of microbial elements. So if, for example, the NPK value is small, but the microorganism which can take down nitrogens from the air are higher, so they can take the nitrogen in the air. Remember that in the air there's about 80% nitrogen that can be taken up by microorganisms as well as in the soil. So here is just the way we make a starter of eco farming. Take out the vacuum eco farming from the box and put it into 1 liter of water. We can use it according to our needs. If for 5,000 metric square, dissolve only half of it. For 1 hectare, dissolve all. Then shake it properly and leave it for 25 minutes before using a sprayer. So in the language of our head of agency, that microorganisms are like special forces working in the soil and breaking down organic substance, preparing nutrients so that the nutrients in the soil are sufficient for plants to benefit from. Yes, that's why there are many questions. Why eco-farming products make agriculture fertile while the content is small? That's right. Many even ask, how come this small amount of fertilizer can be used for 1 hectare? So I want to explain that in one small tube, according to the results of our laboratory test approximately 2 weeks ago, indicated the number of microbes or microorganisms in 30 grams is 150 billions. That's at least in 5 tests that we did in the laboratory. The smallest value was 150 billions and the highest score was 189 billion. So if we take the average, it's 170 billion. So what does it mean? This means that with the large number of microbes, when we apply it to the soil, that we no longer need to ferment or to reproduce. Second, when we applied, for example, yesterday I made a small note, how if we break down into 1,000 milliliter, there is 150 billion microbes. This means that every 100 milliliter, there is less than 15 billion. So in 50 milliliter, there are about 7.5 billion in one tank mixed with 15 liters of water. What does it mean? There are so many microbes or microorganisms. When we first apply them, when they get down to the ground, they will collaborate each other to improve our soil quality. So as there are many types of microorganisms, for example, nitrogen enhancer, opener of stomata, and etc. Now, what is the uniqueness of stomata opener microbes? What does it do? So there are times when stomata will be naturally opened, but with eco-farming, there are indeed a type of microbes or microorganisms that will open the stomata out of their schedule. That's why earlier we heard from friends, for example in oil palm, earlier we heard from a guest from Bengkulu, that is a city in Sumatra, that a farmer, so they say that the first time is seeing fertilizer that can open leaves that faster. Why did it happen? Well, that's the work of the microbes or microorganisms. In eco-farming, are there any microbes that have been identified? Yes, we just identified about 8 species yesterday. So there are Herops microbes. This microbe Herop is very good at rehabilitation or improving the water quality, so that there are areas of land that are not good enough to be regenerated by these microbes. So if there are areas that are not good enough, they will be improved by Herops microbes or microorganisms. Then there are a phosphate dissolving microbes or microorganism. In our soil, as a result of non-organic fertilizers residues, there are a lot of availability of phosphates that are insoluble. Now, by using and applying eco-farming, It will dissolve the phosphate even without being given a pea fertilizer. It is sufficient. By applying eco-farming, even by reducing 75% of non-organic fertilizers, it can provide the plant nutrients because of the performance of the microorganisms by utilizing the available materials on the ground. So moreover, there are microorganisms that work to dissolve the remaining residual toxins, pesticides which are left behind in the soil. Now, that can be dissolved naturally by the microorganisms so that the soil is healthier. So there's another ecorrhiza microorganisms which is so amazing. First, this ecorrhiza can work to take a food to be supplied to roots in very distant points. Second, ecorrhiza can make a food reserves for plants. If there are dry plants that are not supplied with sufficient nutrients and water but are still resistant, survive and growing, then that is due to benefit from ecorrhiza microorganisms. So we hear from friends why it is dry but still green. This is the working benefits of ecorrhiza. Beside what has been said earlier, is there any other microorganisms? So we have only identified, as I said earlier, we have only identified approximately 200 millions out of 150 billions microorganisms contained in eco-farming. So that our test results have only identified 100 millions. This means that there are still many other microorganisms that we don't know yet the identity of them, but the results of their performance are already visible and exist. So when we are applying it to the plant, which are growing better and healthier as well as greener, that's the outcome of collaborations done by various microbial elements from eco-farming that provide extraordinary nutrients to the soil and plants as well. So this is all what we can talk about the eco-farming super active organic fertilizer that designed purposely to make a soil fertile again and farmers more prosperous. Thank you very much for your attention. Assalamu alaikum.